All right, I'm back, grade 3 and 4. So the two things we're going to talk about right now, especially, are your reading response paragraph, okay? The next paragraph that you're going to write. So we worked hard on getting our opening paragraph together, and today you're going to work on paragraph number 2. So you just keep going on that same sheet of paper that you were writing on, okay? So where you have your first paragraph, I'd like you to skip one line, and now you're going to start your next paragraph. And the paragraph that you're going to write today is the first idea in your set of 3. Okay, so for Joanna, you're going to write your paragraph about blizzards today. Okay, make sure you have all the information that you want to. Now, you had kind of done already a really good review of your information from your book. So you only have to just kind of tweak that a little bit and make that be good. And for everyone, read your paragraphs over several times. Looking first time maybe for sentence flow. Does it make sense? And that includes, do I have the right punctuation in the right places? And that leads to capital letters in the right places as well. So how does it flow? Remember, it's good to change your sentence length. So sometimes short sentences, you know how to combine sentences to make them longer, okay? You could use the words and, you could use the word but, if you're doing a comparison, those types of things, okay? And this is where you add your details. So Joanna's going to do a paragraph on blizzards today. Raleigh, I do have to have you change your last line, Raleigh. Instead of bye for now on your first paragraph, something general about Dewey, like Dewey sure is a special cat, or Dewey is quite a cat. So one more sentence that is just a more general statement, okay? All right, because you're not done. Bye for now means like I'll see you again in my next book. Okay, and your next paragraph, change that one sentence at the end of paragraph 1, and then your next paragraph is going to be about the sad beginning. So now you want to give details, but not too much, like you want people to read the book. So give details about Dewey's sad beginning. Think of a particular scene from the story that you can tell about, okay? Caleb, you are going to be describing the forest. I think you need at this point in time too to give more details about the trail. Where is it? There are trails all over the United States. You need to let them know that they're in the Appalachian Trail. Some names of that. Now you're going to give details about how Toby's trip is and what happens when he's in the forest. Don't go into details about your next two things about moose or about Mr. Lewis, I think it was, is your other one. Okay, I don't have your paper right in front of me, but so only about the forest. But here you could talk about how he meets those other characters, like, and those were important, like all the different characters that he met, Denver and Sean, and different people that helped him, and how he helped different people on the trail, right? It really showed how, even though he was just a young boy, how he was even able to help other people who were much older than he was, and they in turn helped him quite often as well. So again, just one paragraph. So pick a few details that you can tell, but give more information about the trail. And then Micah, your next paragraph is going to be talking mostly about Saturday. Okay, obviously other characters are going to play into that, but you want to describe Saturday, and is she the hero or not? You kind of led into that in your opening paragraph. So give us some clues. Is she the hero or is she not the hero? Is it someone else? Okay. And that's kind of an interesting way you really are leading your people to want to read that book, because that's the title of it, Hero. Who is the hero? All right. So if you have any questions on that, give me a holler. So what I expect to see today is your next paragraph. Okay. And the next part will go a little bit quicker here. I'm hoping to be done actually with this, our next 3 paragraphs by the end of the week. We'll write a paragraph today. We'll write a paragraph tomorrow. We'll write a paragraph on Thursday. Maybe we'll even get finished up on Friday. Okay. We'll see how it goes. All right. But again, reread your paragraphs so that they make sense and that you have made some of your own corrections before you hand it to me. Do you need to rewrite anything? No, this is a sloppy copy. So if you are writing and you say, oh, I did that word isn't the right choice of a word, or you needed to add something in there, so cross it out. Put an arrow over to the side. I'm going to add this sentence in, anything like that. It's okay. All right. All right. So the next thing that you're going to do, you will need to have your Wisconsin history page. And I think you need to have a separate sheet of paper. There is not enough room to write everything we need to write on this little few boxes they give us here. Okay. So I would like you to get a separate sheet of paper to be able to finish this up with me. Okay. And let's work together on it. All right. I'm going to cut to my other screen. And also trusting that you read it already, because that is what your teacher asked you to do. So we're going to look at two things today. And when you're reading nonfiction, the one that we're talking about today is classification. Number 4, classification. Okay. And so one of the things that I want to talk to you about is sometimes when you're reading, you don't always have a separate sheet of paper that you can make your classifications on. And we are going to do that. But sometimes when you're reading, it can help, especially if you're reading nonfiction. Choose a couple different colors. You've got your pencil for one, maybe a couple other highlighters or some other colored pencils. And that's what I'm going to do today to help us with our classification. So the first thing you have to do before you know how you're going to classify anything, you have to read the whole selection. You can't make a determination of what your categories are going to be until you read. And so please follow along. And this solves the problem also if you chose not to read this yesterday. Let's review it. The American Civil War was a war between the northern United States and the southern United States. The North was also called the Union and Yankees, and the South was also called the Confederacy and the Rebels. People in the North were generally abolitionists. That is a big word that means against slavery, and did not want new states to be able to join the Union as slave states. Northern states also generally believed that states should have to follow some federal authority in order to keep the United States together. The ultimate goal of the North was to keep the Union together. People in the South generally approved of slavery because it helps drive their economy and keep their cotton their cotton businesses running. The South wanted new states to be able to decide if they would join the Union as pro-slavery or anti-slavery states. The South also believed in states' rights, or the idea that states should be able to decide what they wanted by themselves without the help of a federal government. Many pro-slavery states seceded, and that meant they left. They went away from the United States during the Civil War. The pro-slavery state of Kentucky declared itself neutral throughout the war. Okay, so here are the things that I see for our categories. We know we're talking about the Civil War, but that's the very broad category. So that would be like the whole heading. Okay, the American Civil War. I heard a lot of information about northern states. I had a lot of information about southern states. I had a little bit of information on the end of neutral states. And you know what neutral means, right? Neither on one side or the other. They want to stay out of the middle of it. Okay? So instead of continuing on this page here, I'm going to go, well, actually, let's do one thing first. So let's go with northern states. And we're going to use orange. So anything I'm going to use with orange, anything that has to do with a northern state. The other thing I do sometimes when I'm reading, like I'll say, okay, everything about the northern state, I'm going to circle. And then for today, just to help you see, I'm going to use blue to find anything about southern states. But if I have just my pencil, I might say, all right, if I circle everything about northern states, I'm going to underline everything about the southern states. And then we have one more left, and that's neutral states. And today I'm going to use yellow. Hopefully that shows up enough for you. And if I had three things, then I would say, well, I'm going to make a box around the things that go with that. Okay? So let's see what we can find about northern states. Okay? Well, the North was called the Union and the Yankees. They were generally abolitionists, which means against slavery, and that's important. I have to remember that abolitionist means that you are against slavery. Didn't want new states to be able to join the Union as slave states. Believe states should have to follow federal authority. Ultimate goal, keep the Union together. Okay, so it looks like they have all that kind of together. Now, what about the South? I did see one over here. South was called the Confederacy and the Rebels. So we want that with blue. Approved of slavery, and it tells us why. Drove their economy, kept their cotton and cotton businesses running. So they needed that for their way of life. Wanted new states to be able to decide if they would join pro-slavery or anti-slavery. So they wanted the states to be able to have the choice. They thought states should be stronger than the whole United States. So each individual state would have more rights than the entire United States. So not so much that they would they wouldn't listen to the federal government at all, but the states should be stronger than the federal government. We strive, I would say, in a way to try to have the states have rights, but they're kind of equal or kind of balance out with the federal laws that we have as well. All right. And many of those pro-slavery states seceded from the United States during the Civil War. So that means they left the United States of America. They became their own country. And then we have one left. These are the neutrals. Kentucky was neutral, and even though it was pro-slavery, it was neutral throughout the whole war. Okay? So now how do we take that information? And I'm going to start it, but then I'm going to let you finish. So on a separate sheet of paper, we are talking about, this is classification, okay, for the American Civil War. So American Civil War. And that's kind of our whole title, okay? Our whole title. Now our categories are northern states. These are our categories for our classification. Southern states. And then neutral, or maybe we could put other. That would be okay with me too. Sometimes you need kind of an other category. They don't necessarily fit in here, but it fits here. So now I already went through and highlighted. So I'm going to look for everything that was orange to do for the North states. So I'm just going to like make a little bullet. They were called the Union and Yankees. All right. And then the next one, the blue one, I can go over here to the southern states. I can keep going in order. They were called the Confederacy. Or the Rebels. Okay. So called the Union, called Yankees, called the Confederacy, called the Rebels. We didn't have anything that these guys were called exactly. So these guys in the North were against slavery. And we had an important word there. That means abolitionist. Important word to know. Abolitionist means they are against slavery. New states, so anyone who would be joining the United States at this time, could not, didn't have a choice, could not, so no choice, be slave states. They had to be free. Federal government rules should be followed. Okay, so follow the federal authority, all right? Move my paper up a little bit. And keep the Union together. So not just the northern states, but keep the United States of America together. So they wanted the United States to stay strong and together. All right. Now, I'm going to go to the other side. And what about our other or our neutral states? Okay. Kentucky was one of those neutral states. And do you know where Kentucky is located? Kind of in the middle of the South and the North. All right. It was pro-slavery. Do you think there were any other neutral states? It doesn't tell us. We don't have a whole lot of other information on neutral states. But we do know that Kentucky was neutral through the whole war. We'd have to do more information here. Here's the section I want you to finish. What are the other ideas for the southern states? So in this section right here, you go back to what we read and what we underlined and decide which things talk about the southern states. And that is how you do classification while you are reading nonfiction. Again, I showed you more than one way to do it. You can make a list, and taking notes is important, but you also can just do highlighting or different marks and symbols to help you make that classification while you're reading as well. Did you notice something? How often did we have to read the selection? I think I went back and read things at least 4 times, maybe not the entire part, but I can think of at least 4 times that we read it. Counting what we read yesterday, that's 5 times. So do you notice something else there? You're rereading nonfiction several times to get the gist of what is being said and to be able to classify, to be able to find those problems and solutions, to be able to compare and contrast, to be able to know and understand and make your good decisions about authentic literature here, and then having that be part of your knowledge going forward. So another good thing to remember here is reading more than once. All right, back to me. That being said, on Wednesday, you will have a test. What about going back through your paper and at least kind of skimming it, and with your pencil, underline those important details. Do your own type of classification. Like when you see things that go together, make the same kind of mark. Maybe you're going to make a wavy line under things that talk about one certain thing. Maybe you're going to make a straight line under another type of idea, okay? Help yourself out so that when you go back to take that test, it's really easy to see, well, these ideas go together because I have squiggly lines under them. These lines underneath with a straight line, those ideas go together, okay? So another way to be reading. And as you read going forward, is that something you can do from now on? Of course it is, all right? You can't always mark up every paper that you read, but the ones that we use, you certainly can. And if you can't mark it up, that's a good way to show the taking notes that we did. All right, so you know what you have to finish, right? You have to finish your paper today, do the crossword puzzle, and finish this classification page. You're finishing the center column about the southern states, taking a picture of it and sending it to me today, okay? Or for sure by tomorrow morning so that when we correct it, we're all set to go. All right, have a great rest of the day. Oh, and as you're doing your family trees, keep working on them. And if you have any questions, let me know. Or if you're running into any dead ends, let me know that too. I'll see what I can do to help. Thank you so much. Have a great day.